Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're settling down. I know some of them have gone out to meet the other panelists as well. As you're settling in, I thought I will set the context of today's panel discussion. Just want to understand the audience that is here so that we can tweak the discussion as per that. So maybe some entrepreneurs who are here, would be nice to see some of them. Great. Yeah, I can see some of them as well. The broad opportunity, I think the reason that we're all here, the Global Fintech Fest, is in itself a testament to the growing fintech ecosystem. We are the third largest fintech ecosystem in the world. Nearly 1/3 of the unicorns are from the fintech sector, and the most number of future unicorns are going to be from the fintech sector, if not for e-commerce. However, this sector comes with its own set of peculiarities. When it comes to peculiarities, I mean, it is a fairly regulated space. There's a high reliance on bank-fintech partnerships. The banks and fintechs need to collaborate closely together. And of course, there is a reliance on investor funding as well, as long-term sustenance becomes critical. And some of the opportunities that we have seen so far, startups have been solving are in terms of customer onboarding, innovative experiences there, credit underwriting, how do you serve new to credit customers who do not have some sort of credit history, how do you create a digital trail for them. Again, we are also seeing some solutions in customer service, compliance, cyber security, you name it. So today, fintech is not just financial technology, but what we also call as TechFin, where deep tech companies have use cases in the banking and financial services sector. Now, given this kind of a very unique space that fintechs are operating in, incubation becomes very, very essential. To the people who are new to the concept of incubation, it is essentially incubators are bodies that promote startups and entrepreneurs almost from an idea until the go-to-market stage, where they help develop some of these solutions and take them to market. And that is the kind of early support that is given by the incubators when it comes to nurturing the startups. Most common types of support that you see is like it begins with a co-working space at a very superficial level, but then the engagement gets deeper. There's mentorship. Then of course there are like master classes on various topics, and then it goes into some form of grants, investment, etc. All that would lead to the success of a venture. Given this context, over the last decade or so, the incubator ecosystem has expanded multifold. We are now talking about nearly 1,000 plus incubators in the country as we speak. And the incubation ecosystem also has come a long way, where it initially started off with sector-agnostic incubation, but now it's more and more moving towards sector-specific incubation. We've seen incubators across the length and breadth of the country, you name it, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 cities as well. And then each incubators, you'll be surprised to know that there are like some agri-tech incubators, healthcare-first incubators, and of course climate change as well is one of the focus areas. Financial inclusion has been the thrust for several incubators. We have an esteemed set of panelists who will be sharing their perspective on this subject. So now I'll dive deep into today's discussion, the future of fintech incubation, wherein we are looking at the different phases that incubation presents. And the first phase of incubation is more around the idea generation itself. What is the problem statement that entrepreneurs need to solve for? How do you identify these problem statements? How do you help the entrepreneurs build these solutions? Is something that becomes like a critical first step for enabling the startup journey. And more specifically to fintechs, we at RBI, sorry, just to give you a context, the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Reserve Bank of India to promote innovation in the financial services sector. And I head the fintech and startups team, or FAST as it is called. So we we look at engaging with the fintech and startup ecosystem. So part of our work involves engaging with the incubators closely to develop very unique models pertaining to incubation, because we believe that the incubators are experts at nurturing businesses, and we understand the fintech space better. So how do we add that layer on top of the existing incubators is what we are working towards. And in the process, we've implemented several programs across different stages. And given that context, I will now jump directly into the discussion. My first question is to Vignesh. Vignesh, hackathons have been a very important tool, especially in the fintech space, because there is lack of clarity on who's the customer, who's the paying customer, who's the consumer. There's so many different angles to it, and identifying a very specific problem statement becomes critical. And just to give you context, like especially able people represents nearly 2 to 3% of India's population, and creating financial solutions that are easily accessible to them in itself is a market opportunity. So there are several specific problem statements and solutions that need to come out, and hackathons become a critical tool. So in your experience of nurturing early stage ideas at IIT Jodhpur, can you share how you approach the fintech space?
So one of the differences with the other panelists is that we are a very young incubation center as well. Like we have been active for the last 1.5 years. And when we are planning a program with RBH, the initial thoughts were to put down a program for incubation or pre-incubation, but then we thought, let's understand the landscape much better. Most of our students in IIT Jodhpur, and I know for that matter across the nation, they don't know how to build fintech apps. Right? They don't have much exposure to different APIs which are available, different regulations which are available. And we thought, can we do a hackathon? Wherein let's not say in the specific team and let's not ask them to build directly. Let's have a 4-week hackathon where we put a theme surrounding the hackathon, and let us see if they can identify, let's give a contact setting in the first week. Let them possibly understand the ecosystem properly, what is the theme surrounding the hackathon. We did a hackathon like a finance. And most of the students, or I think most of the audience members also may not be aware of something called climate space. Right? So we did a hackathon on the theme of how do we incentivize climate conscious customers or consumer choices. Right? And then we gave a proper explanation of the theme. The second week we asked the students to come up with problem statements. The third week we asked them to come up with solutions. Throughout the weeks we had sessions on design thinking, on different tech APIs. We had management sessions. We had a banker's perspective on climate finance. We had several stakeholders who came and gave a lot of clarity on a particular theme which they are building an app on. And also they got very strong hands-on support from mentors in building the app itself. Right? And in the final week, we also gave them a proper idea on the management aspect. We helped them to identify how this app could be scaled into a startup. That's where we ended the hackathon, and we are still planning on how do we take the winning teams of the hackathon to a pre-incubation level and then an incubation level. So we are working out different programs under it, but it is essentially important that we started with a hackathon so that we were able to understand the financial ecosystem properly so that we can build programs for incubation.
Thanks, Vignesh. So that you actually set up right, for the next panelist as well. Yamini here represents the IIM Lucknow Enterprise Incubation Center, and he is, he would be able to talk about a potential pre-incubation program. So where Vignesh sort of ended the conversation that these ideas need further hand-holding to move from, say, a prototype to taking these solutions to the market. Further hand-holding and support is needed. So in that regard, Yamini, I would like you to touch upon some of the initiatives that you are taking and share how support can be extended for fintechs.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Yamini Bhushan Pandey, and I represent IIML innovation and entrepreneurship arm. We operate from at least Noida campus, and we have several. So we are currently approximately 11 years old, and we run an array of programs across various verticals and sectors. Just to give you a brief, that we do a typical pre-incubation program for students and aspiring entrepreneurs, and then we do like any other incubator does. Then we do the typical incubation programs, acceleration programs, and so on and so forth. And then we have our which work with corporate venture capital and a training program. So a couple of months back, when RBI showed a keen interest in terms of doing something across North India, especially catering to fintech-based startup for fintech entrepreneurs. So we sat down. I think Aakarsh, we have been knowing each other from more than 10 years now. So we designed something, a kind of roadshow across the state of Uttar Pradesh, just to understand the overall landscape and understanding about what fintech is all about. So we touched base in 6 major cities, including Varanasi, Lucknow, Jodhpur, Bangalore, Meerut, and we touched around more than 1,000 aspiring fintech entrepreneurs. There were several funny moments as well, where people, even the faculties and academic institutions, sometimes understand that fintech is any startup having a healthy balance sheet. So that kind of understanding, and that was sitting in a capital of, I wouldn't name the city or the faculty, but so the problem is that there is a huge potential that we need to penetrate in tier 2, tier 3 cities and make them understand what fintech is all about at first place. So from those 1,000 odd aspiring fintech startups, we received, I think, more than 200 odd applications, where we had to do certain topic statements as well. Now we are trying to work upon to provide a kind of pre-incubation program to all these 200 participants. And the idea would be not just to provide a kind of capacity building, but also to ensure that the specific areas in which fintech startups face major challenges, possibly in the area of cybersecurity or regulatory compliances, or real-time case studies which are specifically for fintech startups by different successful fintech founders. So that kind of flavor would be introduced in this incubation program. And we are planning to expand a similar kind of model across the neighboring states now as well, including Uttarakhand, Haryana, and so on. So I think there is a huge scope and potential across, especially in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But again, we require a strong hand-holding, capacity building, creating awareness, and then nurturing those bright ideas into startups. So I think that was a great experience, and we look forward for similar engagements in the near future.
Thank you. Thank you, Yamini. So you beautifully set the context for nurturing entrepreneurs in say tier 2 and tier 3 cities. That is where we are building for Bharat now. I think that is the narrative that is going on as we speak. And fintech also particularly presents an opportunity to build localized solutions because there are several solutions, like whether looking at local language banking. We have come up with an initiative called Fintech in Northeast, where we are looking at increasing accessibility of these financial services to remote Indian regions in the northeast part of the country. But to do so, we need a movement of fintechs to come together to deliver the financial services being offered by banks and NBFCs, so to say. And for that to happen, not only we identified problem statements, we've given them hand-holding support in the form of pre-incubation. It also becomes critical that we have sustained engagement with them over a period of over a long-term period, so that they're able to build these solutions, test it out, take it to market, and that is where the whole incubation program becomes very, very critical. To that end, I would now like to direct my question to Anand, the CEO of NSRCEL Bangalore. We want to share some thoughts on how fintechs can be incubated. What are the new models and emerging models that we can look forward to from your experience?
think what we attempt to do in incubation is essentially probably two things. One is at the founder level itself. A founder who's an owner of an idea, who's brought in his creativity, technical expertise, probably some domain understanding of the customer, and conceptualize an idea. And our role is how could we take that founder and that founding and transform them into an owner of a venture. These are two very different ideas. A brilliant idea and a brilliant venture are two very different ideas. And our job in incubation is to enable that partnership. From an ecosystem perspective, and that's probably where a partnership with RBI, I hope, will create the kind of impact we aspire to. And we spoke about tech fit. Broadly in the product technology space, and particularly in the deep tech space, the mortality of a tech venture is between 70 and 90%. Means ventures and founders don't stay more than 3 years for a whole set of reasons. Macroeconomic, capability, product market fit, which by the way is the largest. Product market fit is probably the largest contributor to mortality within tech and deep tech ventures. Within incubation, we are trying to flip that status. What can I do to ensure that the survival of an innovator is at least 7%? Which means 70% of the time the venture is able to get to product market fit and reach a position of stability and scale. Which is what we're trying to do with the fintech space as well. As you were saying earlier, the space is peculiar. Product market fits are difficult to achieve. Especially if you're looking at India as a market, and you spoke of Bharat, there isn't one India. You're familiar with the papers on India 1, India 2, India 3. Each of those Indias is a very different product market. And generally innovation tends not to be fungible across times, whether you're looking at customer or enterprise or regulatory or possibly cross-regulatory innovation. Innovations don't tend to be fungible, which means the depth to which we get to product market fit becomes hypothetical. And then there are other factors which are as critical as technology maturity. In the fintech space, interoperability is extremely key. The ability to work with either the Digital India stack or the UPI stack, or integrate with NPCI, we had a conversation earlier, or with the regulatory framework that RBI was set here on to bring in. And if you're working with the banking infrastructure, the ability to integrate the banking infrastructure. Interoperability is as well. And then there is the regulatory environment, and we're still talking fintech, and many of the ventures that we work with, they cut cross-regulatory. So there's insurtech, fintech overlaps. There's healthcare and fintech overlaps, which means the complexity of policy that a founder has to navigate becomes, in a nice manner, more exciting. The role of incubation is to unpack this, is to find the unknowns that a founding team is grappling with. And how can we unpack this? And what we try to do when we unpack that is try to bring in the right kind of ecosystem, especially when an area like fintech or techfin, as you said, is still emerging, is still nascent. You've got to be able to bring in policy, you've got to be able to bring in corporate, you've got to be able to bring in science and technology, you've got to be able to bring in regulation. And then you've got to be able to bring in your own value as an incubator, enabling the business model and the revenue. And if you're able to bring that together in a somewhat meaningful manner, you've created a path that the founder can at least reduce his risk of mortality, get to product market fit and success. I think that's what I'm attempting to do. I'm looking forward with great excitement to what we can do together. My team, I'm excited, my team probably is nervous because these sort of goals we've set for ourselves within this space are very exciting. And
Thanks a lot for the sentiment. I would say we would like to reciprocate it equally, and the team being fast, we're already engaging, ready to partner with you in that sense. So speaking of fast, now I want to touch upon acceleration programs. So the logical next step from an incubation program where then you spoke about survival, incubation in the true sense where the mortality of the venture and the survival rates have to be high, and whatever support is needed has to be extended. So assuming that the startups have reached the product market fit or are close to reaching the product market fit, is when they now start to think of scale. I mean, product market fit is achieved when you sort of reach scale and your customers are selling the product for you, then you doing the selling. So in that sense, achieving product market fit, there is one step between incubation and PM fit, and that is acceleration. So Santosh, very interesting profile, being an expatriate himself, now in the world of academia and incubation, innovation, all of that. Would love to hear your perspective on where the gap is in terms of acceleration. What are the opportunities? What is the pedagogy we need to take when it comes to nurturing fintechs?
Thank you, Aakarsh. So as you may have seen, there's a relay race that's happening, right? So there's hackathon that builds in from the paper idea to a stage where you can actually put yourself into a 2-3 year journey of being a founder. Then there is incubation that Yamini team provides. They take you beyond the idea stage and take you to the stage where you can actually have sort of a product ideation to an MVP stage, and then Anand's team will take it further ahead to bring you closer to the PM and product market fit, and that's where we step in. Anand, we run a program called Incubation, which is on the fintech side. It's been 2 years that we've been running, and I've been on both sides of the table. As a banker, I've looked at startups to bring them in as a service provider, and also as a strategic investor, as a bank, we're looking at where do we really put in our bets in the right way. Now on the other side of the table, when I'm looking at the startups here, so if you look at fintech as a whole, I'll probably extend the conversation that Anand and Aakarsh were talking about is the challenges are pre-staged for a fintech entity here. And unlike a SaaS or unlike a D2C or e-commerce, here it's highly regulated that we all know, but the level of pace that the regulation is moving now, and the regulator itself is like a startup now, right? The kind of innovation that's being brought in by the NPCI, by RBI, and yesterday was the ULI being launched, right? We're just getting accustomed to the account aggregation, but we're already at the next acronym. And in the banking world, acronyms are plentiful, and it becomes really difficult for someone else to come into the banking domain because the 3 stages I said the difference is one is on the regulation side. It is highly, it's a moving goalpost, I would say, in a nice manner because it's moving the country further along. They are one of those by far the largest digital banking entity in the world, right? So, which means that you as a founder, by the time you ideate and come to the incubation, the guidance have moved further, right? You should be able to understand, make sense of it, and then build something on top of it. Now that's one side of the story. The other side of the challenge, the second side of the challenge is time. You cannot build a fintech as a standalone. You have to have a banking or BFSI entity as either a vendor, partner, or a consumer. One of the three has to be there. That's what makes sense to you as a business. Now to do that, there's a whole lot of complexity because banks, financial services, insurances companies are completely, it's a much larger organization. Their structuring is very different. It's not easy to understand for an outsider. That's where the domain expertise comes into play to understand what and who do I reach out to. And that's the second layer of challenge. Now coming to the third layer of challenge is how long do I have to raise my money and what's my result. So any of the three is a bottleneck, then you're there. And you're data so that's where we come in to sort of ease up that journey for the founders. We typically take about 10 startups into our under our wheels to help them understand these 3 different elements in the ecosystem and try and navigate through that. It's easier said than done, and we create a very customized solution plan for each of them because right, ranging from a work tech to a tech phase, right? The requirements are going to be very different, multi-fold requirements, and hence we have created one of the things that we bring to the table is our mentor pool. These are all CXO levels from the banking world. That's one thing that we were able to leverage on being peaceful ourselves, and also between me and one of the executives, both of us were bankers, so we were able to bring our connect and deals. That sort of helps the startup to talk to the right person to get the growth. And that's one big challenge, but which many startups find as fintech to get to the right person within the banking ecosystem to start the conversation. In my previous role, I used to say that we as a CDC, corporate VC, and the innovation team, and as a startup, when I look at you, our orbits are very different. We need to find the right place to match our, come closer to the orbit. Right? When we say extending the from Mars, from Venus, I would say that the startups are from Saturn and corporates are from Mercury. So we rarely match the orbit. So it's my role as innovation head to see what is the closest point I can get to. And now, in the other role, now as accelerating, I'm trying to build that bridge on, hopefully, a Boeing Starliner or SpaceX will help us connect those dots. It's very tricky there. So our journey is generally about 6 months that we spend time with them. And we extend that journey beyond that with other support systems. At this stage, when they come to acquisition, they're not looking for co-working, they're not looking for idea support, they're not looking for seed funds. They already have these three. They already have a working prototype product which may already be deployed at some revenue generation. What they're looking at is how do I really get my hockey stick from here? And that's where we hope we'll be able to push them further and get them that kind of a ladder to the next level. And with RBH, we've been fortunate to have very early conversation on creating the next level of journey for the incubated startup within the RBH group, where we can take them further along in the journey by helping them talk to the right levels in the banking ecosystem, talk to the right investors at CDC level of funding or maybe slightly ahead of before that in terms of the funding side, and also to help them really get the right connect within the regulatory ecosystem. I think RBH has done a wonderful job of getting those conversations on different channels, right? And because I remember 5 years back, 6 years back, it used to be conversations in silos, but now you have a very good platform where fintechs can reach out to the regulator, have a conversation, understand the guidelines, and understand the clear interpretation of the guidelines. Because what happens with the guidelines is also the challenge is on the interpretation, right? My lens might give me a different interpretation vis-a-vis the regulator on the other side. So that I think that bridge has completely changed the direction now for the founders and the startups to really build something more valuable, more long-term in nature, and further along the journey of the Indian fintech ecosystem.
Thanks, Santosh. I really like the analogies that you shared. And I want to highlight here to the audience that Santosh has emphasized the need for market access, opening up the right doors for startups. And that is where I think at RBI we are following like a 5M philosophy. So the first step is what we call mixers, because that's where early networking is needed for these founders to explore, come up with their ideas. Then comes the master classes, where of course we are looking at program like Incubation, where we give them domain expertise on different topics that fintechs can pursue. The mentorship becomes very, very critical by the time they reach the incubation level, and then market access becomes most important in an acceleration program. Taking a step forward from market access, the logical next step for fintech or any startup is to scale. And we have seen more often than not that scale also comes through investments, and that is where I want to bring in Supriya here at this point, where IIM Ahmedabad has or IIMA CII as it was called, and now IIMA Ventures has gone through its own learning curve, ranging from setting up of the Bharat Innovation Lab to now being structured as a fund and becoming more and more startup centric. Would love to hear your thoughts on how is it that you're approaching the fintech space, and where do you see the space evolving from an incubation perspective?
But before then, all our understanding about fintech is really grounded in what we did with the Incubation. This is a particular program that we started in 2017 to double down on how India started to capitalize fintech for the unserved lower middle income almost a full curriculum. It required us to work on research, it required us to work on incubation, it required us to work on acceleration and investment as well. In fact, we have our research fellows sitting here who've really done partnership work. For instance, the study went to the urban slums and brought back their financial ties for a full year. So now we know what happens every fortnight, how does the movement go about. That kind of understanding fed into what we were talking about with people who were thinking about building companies. That kind of a fundamental customer side view was critical because this was a Bharat customer that we knew nothing about. We can say nice story, looks here and say that we want to build for India 2.2, but we don't know what is it. Therefore, it required that kind of research to be done. With incubation, we said we will be bold, and the kind of ideas that we supported included something like micro-equity. Why do micro entrepreneurs interact only on it? And then the equity model and what structure it will be. Required that kind of bold, no fear thinking to be able to see whether this idea had some merit and whether it would make sense. Moving further on acceleration, the lab that you were referring to was called the Financial Inclusion Lab, and it is so heartening to see some of the companies who you would see up in Aakarsh, their large ones, you would see the stuff in their large ones. These are companies that we work with as part of the acceleration program, the Financial Inclusion Lab. And then there was the fund when we set up. And of course, other industries, we made and set investments up there. Naidu is one of the industries. The reason I'm sort of elaborating on this is, and I'm sure my co-panelists here will agree, incubation is very, very exhausting. It is, you will see strong nods here. It is tiring. It is a lot of work. Because this is also the most ambiguous part of any startups. More often than not, what also happens is and as folks who are overseeing and it was part of the journey, we may tend to miss what is the end game. In absence of that clarity of where is it our we tend to become words. And as a result, we are not able to say, we are not able to think what else is required for example, that person, what and how much time, what kind of scale, and what would it take to unlock that scale. We spoke about partnerships, is that required? What kind of partnerships are required? And that was the fundamental behind us thinking this full country. We are replicating that for even a harder problem. Replicating that for women's national which is now it seems so getting a lot of customers. That was easily done. But we also found this here who like to crack at that and we see how we're able to make progress there. What we've done with you, the Sonari program is also our joint step in that direction of being able to build more women-centered products.
Absolutely. Thanks, Supriya. So yeah, I think just before we sort of, I think we're almost at time, but I want to just give some quick thoughts, concluding thoughts from our panelists in terms of what the future of fintech incubation looks like. Maybe at two levels. One is, it's a choice of the panelists. Either they can talk about some of the innovative fintechs that they've nurtured or have looked at in terms of the problems that they're solving and the scale at which they're operating, or some success stories. Or the other way to look at this is in terms of where the incubation model is likely to evolve specifically for the fintech sector. Maybe through this forum, I also want to announce that IIML is planning to set up something called as the Fintech Incubation Network, consisting of incubators, the tier 1 incubators who bring in the depth and expertise across different sectors, subsectors of fintech, where we work jointly to co-create some programs for different stages and also provide the platform such that the startups could potentially be incubated physically at these incubators, and we could come in and bring the fintech perspective. So overall, at least for me, the future of fintech is that there is a fintech at the center, and then you have banks, regulator, investor, and the mentor surrounding the fintech, and thereby their journey is accelerated. So yeah, I think at least for me, at RBIH, the mission is to make India a fintech nation with the support of our incubators here today. Over to each of the panelists who have here some concluding thoughts from their side on where the future is.
Give us a small example of our fintech incubators, incubatees. So our focus has predominantly been on fintech startups. Recently, we have started looking at other sectors as well. So one of the fintech were doing with the voice recognition, then found their application in financial security, Now the awareness is so well that people who are working on different domains are able to relate to fintech and their pivot their solutions to the fintech. I hope that there are a lot more fintech investors to be there.
So this, as we have to wind up, maybe like 20 seconds each from the panelists. Sure.
So I think 3 points I would like to highlight. First, it's very important from incubators perspective create in-house most comprehensive ecosystem of fintech startups. Not just the passive building part, not just the building part, not just the marketing sector, and needed investment. And I'm sure we all know that most of the top incubators are so last year we did, I think, over the 60-month investments from our incubator and incubators. So this month, we need to create the most comprehensive ecosystem. And second, we should tie up, as rightly discussed, we should tie up with the most promising and partners across the ecosystem who are looking and eager to support us. This year about to launch a global acceleration program in association with IIML, or we are running a tech acceleration program. Now, something similar where the partner corporates are open to provide funding and architecture opportunities to these companies.
Beyond a few things that we spoke about, there are 2 things that currently are the fringes that are the first is that a lot of innovation solutions are coming out of India potentially have the capability to solve local problems. In some cases, a local solve, but in other cases, for customers or corporates that might have a much broader, larger appeal. So that ability to look at cross-border from a fintech perspective is valuable. The reverse is also true, especially in areas like, for example, we spoke about private finance or agri-finance. There's some extremely exciting work that has been done outside. And as incubators, we think the value of finding a partner to get innovators who work across the globe on solutions that are relevant for us. And can we provide a soft landing, a safe landing for some of those innovators to get India as a market. So I'd like to, at some point, imagine these 2, which probably today are at the fringes, coming closer to the fringes.
Quickly to conclude, 2 points that I want to sort of highlight is, so we've seen startups build different kinds of success criteria. So the metrics to measure is something that is still evolving, I would say. Typically, success is seen as getting funded, but I think the narrative has been changed in India as well. And also with everyone here that we need to start talking about successes beyond getting funded itself, because this is the fact that we survive and build a thriving business. If you're still profitable as a small to medium entity, it's still a great success for any entrepreneur. We should not just paint everyone in the same brush as funded. That's one thing we hope to do with RBI as well. we launch our program. The second bit is to look at startups also. Is there consolidation opportunity available? It should not be seen in a negative sense when a consolidation happens. I want to see more startups, more fintechs coming together, joining hands. I've seen a few examples in the outside world where two founders come together, their complementary ideas or divergent ideas, but you see a larger market opportunity. So two parts. One, success should not only be looking at funding. Sorry. Also success can also be consolidation in a positive sense that you merge your friends and build something larger for the country, for the world.
Everyone here has just we have already we don't need to trust on the I like this approach for Vignesh going there.
Thanks for the wonderful concluding point. On that note, we look forward to creating frictionless finance for a million Indians. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience, and thank you to the G15.